This is a Mitsubishi Evo, but it's not just any Evo. Where it produced, it could have changed everything. Whether that's for the better or for the worse is something we'll get into. But potentially it could have saved this iconic nameplate from kicking the proverbial bucket. I know it's the first 30 seconds of a YouTube video, but I refuse to say unalived. In fact, I'd rather kill myself. The 10th and for now final generation of the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution rolled off the production line in 2016, and since then the company have been in a downward spiral. They've stopped selling cars in both China and the UK, and as far as the rest of Europe is concerned, all they sell now are rebadged Renaults. But let's take it back to the time when Mitsubishi were on top of the world. When the Evo was tearing up the world's rally stages on its way to 4 consecutive championship titles, when the GTO was a hero car of the Gran Turismo games, and when the Eclipse was centre stage in the blockbuster Fast and Furious films. But, as the rather fitting saying goes, diamond days aren't forever. Bit by bit, Mitsubishi lost their brand identity. The enthusiast models would bite the dust one by one, and all the while their consumer cars were becoming more and more uncompetitive. All they sell now are mundane crossover SUVs. Oh, and the Mirage, but that's not long for this world either. Mitsubishi lost their relevance to both the enthusiast market and increasingly to the average buyer. The brand needs a reinvention if it is to survive, and, like it or not, first and foremost, it will need an electric lineup. And then, and only then, maybe they can think about resurrecting one of those iconic nameplates of the past. Not slapping the Eclipse name on whatever that is. The Evo, for instance. It was always a technological yardstick, a complete, unadulterated nerdfest. Oh, how you wouldn't want to sit next to a person who knew how that car's active yaw control worked. All that to say, why couldn't they make an electric one? Well, actually, they did. 20 years ago. This is the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution i-miev, which was based on the production Evo 9. Wait, that's just sunk in. The Evo 9 is 2 decades old now, holy shit. Anyway, i-miev stands for Mitsubishi In-Wheel Motor Electric Vehicle. And indeed, this prototype Evo had 4 in-wheel electric motors powered by batteries located in the car's floor. Combined, they produced 270 horsepower and 382 foot-pounds of torque. Pretty comparable figures to the ICE Evo. Perhaps unsurprisingly, it wasn't as fast as the petrol car. 0 to 60 took about 7 seconds and top speed was limited to 115 miles an hour. Range was quoted at about 155 miles or 250 kilometers, but all of that really wasn't bad for 2005. Calling back to its name for a moment, i-miev. That's a moniker you may recognize from the i-miev city car, the world's first mass-produced EV. And that didn't hit the market until 5 years later, in 2010. This Evo truly was well ahead of its time. They even entered it into a Japanese electric vehicle rally where the car finished in 4th place. And Mitsubishi had pedigree here too. At the same Shikoku rally 4 years earlier, they ran an electric version of the Eclipse that achieved 250 miles on a single charge, which is still better than some EVs today. And even before that, in 1998, they broke a record with an electric FTO. Now, I know. The notion of an electric Evo, a car famed for the tuning capabilities of its internal combustion engine, is probably sacrilege to 95% of fans of the car. I'm not suggesting Mitsubishi should have done away with the ICE Evo, far from it. But if something like this EV version was offered alongside it, there could have been the potential for the technology to trickle down the Mitsubishi food chain in a much more convincing way than what happened with the i-miev. Well, it basically didn't, because they gave up on electric cars after that. For all of Mitsubishi's great cars, they were never really trailblazers, jumping on trends late and spreading themselves far too thin as they hopped into bed with every manufacturer that would work with them in an attempt to stay relevant. Truthfully, a lot of Mitsubishi's downfall can be attributed to not having the funds to make interesting or innovative cars anymore. And combine that with poor decision making and scandals that they found themselves in, like giving cars to people that couldn't afford to keep up repayments with their 000 scheme, or lying about their emissions for the best part of 3 decades. But with all that being said, you can't deny it still isn't a bit of a shame. And let's not forget, the Mitsubishi empire goes way beyond cars. They make everything from microwaves to aircon units to space rockets. Their machines are used in hospitals for radiotherapy. There's a chance that at some point a Mitsubishi machine will help keep you alive. Yet, ironically, Mitsubishi motors have been on life support for quite some time now. That was a bit dramatic, wasn't it? Anyway, now common sense prevails, as it's time to rate this car on how production viable it would have been. It's an interesting one, because they did actually consider putting an electric Evo into production in 2010. Still, it was probably a bit too ahead of its time to be a success even then, especially sitting in the shadow of its petrol-powered sibling. But like I said, it could have also set the company on the right trajectory going forward, which in turn would have helped them no end. As such, the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution i-miev scores 3 Doug DeMuros out of 5.
This